I'm Emma, a 40-year-old single office worker. When I was younger, I was married, but after 3 years without having a child, I was driven out of the marital home. Now, I live with my mother in my childhood home. Though I moved back home, my mother is getting older and will soon need caregiving. She's happy that I'm living with her and relies on me for many things. I have a younger brother, James, who has always been a troublemaker, causing our mother much grief. When he got married, we thought he would settle down, but his wife turned out to be quite difficult. I'll never forget what happened at my brother's wedding 10 years ago. His wife, Claire, blatantly said, "I did marry James, but I have no intention of mingling with your family. Please don't contact us for anything other than major family events. It's annoying to be interfered with by in-laws." Our mother, who had always wanted to get along with James's wife, was shocked to hear those words. My father, who was still alive at the time, felt the same way. Instead of rebuking her, James showed no discomfort at Claire's statement. "Yeah, that's right. I want you to think as if we're not related anymore. Don't expect us to take care of you in the future. Don't rely on us." What a couple, both my brother and his wife. By the way, what does only contact for major events mean? Hey, Claire, do you know? I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with not wanting to be bothered? Without even understanding the full impact of her words. Claire's statement of "please don't contact me except for major family events" was quite something. It would be annoying to be disturbed unexpectedly, right? I was at a loss. For several years after that, James and his wife were true to their word, and we heard nothing from them. No visits during the holidays or significant breaks. I didn't mind avoiding contact with such an unreasonable couple, so in my everyday life, I also had no dealings with them, just as they wished. However, it was 7 years ago, when our father became ill and passed away. The doctor had told our father that he had not much time left, and I felt obliged to inform James, despite his earlier words. When I contacted him, James said, "Okay, just let me know when he passes. I'll come for the funeral." I couldn't believe my ears. What? You're not even going to visit Dad, who might be on his deathbed? It's not like my visiting him will extend his life, right? Besides, Claire said we're not going to attend anything but weddings and funerals. Indeed, they had said that at the wedding, but didn't they realize the funeral part was approaching? Despite his own parents' impending death, he wanted to wait until the funeral. I couldn't bring myself to tell my father or mother what James had said. So, my father died waiting for a visit from his son and daughter-in-law that never came. My brother and his wife, as expected, attended the funeral. It's important to be present for life's major events. They truly lived up to those words. However, it quickly became clear why Claire had attended the funeral. How much is Dad's inheritance? It would be a problem if only those living with him divided up. We'll make sure to get our legal share. I was flabbergasted. They didn't even visit our father when he was suffering from his illness. And now they're immediately talking about inheritance upon learning of his death. What a greedy daughter-in-law. And it's not just her. My brother was right there, nodding along with her. They truly are a well-matched couple. Even though it's inevitable that Mom gets more, honestly, James should receive more than you. We have a child, and you're a divorced returnee. Claire said this while holding a crying baby wrapped in a blanket. You don't have children and have no one to leave your property to. We've provided an heir to the family. So it would be only fair if you renounced your inheritance. The fact that I couldn't have children wasn't my fault. The problem was with my ex-husband, but he and his parents refused to acknowledge it and forced me out, blaming me. But there's no use in saying that now. I steadfastly refused to renounce my inheritance, and ultimately, my mother received half, while my brother and I each received a quarter. In accordance with the legal inheritance distribution. It's so frustrating to be spoken to like that. I was a fool for having given birth to James. I vividly remember how many times my mother cried then. If Dad had left a will, James and his family wouldn't have been able to take his hard-earned money. I completely agreed with her. Please, Emma, make sure everything is in order when it's my time. I don't want to give James and his family even a penny more of the money I inherited from your father. Please make sure of it. It seems that even my mother, who once had familial feelings for my brother, lost them entirely after the issue of Dad's inheritance. However, it was my oversight not to have had a specific discussion about property with my mother since then, up to now. Discussing property and inheritance, implying my mother's passing, always made me hesitant. I've been putting off writing an end-of-life plan, finding it troublesome, and have just been procrastinating. But that was a mistake. If I had taken action earlier, I wouldn't have been involved in such trouble. This happened a month ago. Suddenly, my brother and his wife, along with their 3 children, showed up unannounced at our house. From now on, we'll be living in this house. We're expecting our 4th child, so our previous house became too cramped. What? I couldn't believe it. Completely uninvolved until now, what were they thinking? We'll turn your room into our bedroom, and the vacant room will become the kids' room. It's a bit old, so maybe we should remodel it. Wait, just a minute. I said, flustered. You want to live together? When and where was this decided? And turning my room into your bedroom. Where am I supposed to live? You really don't understand, do you? Claire said with an air of exasperation. We're telling you to leave because I'm pregnant with the 4th child. We'll be living here with your mother. She would prefer to live with her grandchildren rather than with a childless daughter like you. When I glanced at my mother, she was shaking her head vigorously. Anyway, we'll eventually inherit this house, so we might as well move in now. Wait a minute. Why would this house become theirs? Well, it's obvious, isn't it? James is the heir to this house, and what would a childless woman do with it? Claire's smirking, greedy face was truly repulsive. But I was astounded to hear what came next. Apparently, my brother's family had already vacated their apartment. That meant I couldn't just forcibly evict them. What about the young children? I didn't even know they were born, but they were still in elementary school and kindergarten age. Judging by their appearance, they seemed utterly neglected, wearing dirty clothes. I felt a pang of sympathy for them. My mother seemed to feel the same way. This sympathy led to the start of a begrudging cohabitation. And Claire began scheming to take over the house. Emma, where is the deed to this house? You know, it's better to know in advance in case something happens. The house was in my mother's name, but Claire was probing for the location of the deed. This wasn't a joke. Telling her the location of the deed could lead to disaster. If I revealed it, she might just snatch it and change the registration of the house. I realized I needed to take action before it was too late. But when I started to take the necessary steps, an unbelievable fact came to light. I was shocked when I learned this fact. Yet, at the same time, I saw it as the greatest opportunity. An opportunity to protect my mother, myself, and the pitiable children. I consulted with my mother and decided to confront my brother and his wife. On the day of the showdown, my mother and I faced my brother and his wife across the dining table. We had the children play in another room. We couldn't expose such young kids to this kind of turmoil. I was the first to speak. I've been wondering why you suddenly moved into this house, but now I finally understand why. Claire smiled ingratiatingly at my mother, not at me. Oh come on, the reason is obvious. We're here to let Mom spend time with her grandchildren. Since you didn't fulfill your role, Emma. Mom. You love your grandchildren, don't you? Then my mother shook her head, as if to say, oh dear. They are indeed adorable, surprisingly so, considering they're your children. It's good they don't resemble their parents. Claire looked offended at my mother's cold response. You'll regret saying such disrespectful things. You don't know anything. Claire smirked, but little did she know, the regret would be on her part. I asked Mom. You know why James and his family suddenly came to this house, don't you, Mom? My mother replied. Yes, I do. It's not the superficial reason Claire just mentioned. It's probably for the inheritance, isn't it? What? Hey, what are you talking about, Emma? James started to panic. But they had no idea that their wrongdoing had already been exposed. My mother continued. Actually, recently, my personal seal and registration card went missing. They were found the next day, so I thought maybe I misplaced them. I even wondered if I was starting to get senile. But that wasn't the case. What are you talking about, Mom? James feigned ignorance. Don't play dumb. What did you do with my personal seal and registration card? Though it might have been Claire, not you. How rude to suggest that I stole your personal seal. Claire countered, but I stood my ground. Exactly. And what are you going to do about it? What am I going to do? It's obvious, I'm going to report this to the police. Police. James's voice cracked. Going to the police? That's a bit extreme. It's not extreme at all. Stealing someone's personal seal is a serious crime, even if it's within the family. And using that seal for such an outrageous act. James and Claire looked visibly shaken. It seemed they had realized their crime was exposed. You kept asking about the location of the deed, so I got worried and discussed it with Mom. That's when I decided to buy this house from her. I'm single and living at home, and as Claire mentioned, childless, so I have some savings. But when I went to proceed with the purchase, I was shocked. The house was already in James's name. James and Claire had rummaged through the house to find the deed and the personal seal while my mother and I were away. And changed the ownership illegally. The shock I felt when I found this at the Legal Affairs Bureau was indescribable. That's... James was flustered, but Claire just smirked. Well, you found out sooner than expected. I thought we'd surprise you after your mother passed away. But it's too late now. The house is already in James's name. We thought about letting Mom stay out of pity, but if you have a problem, both of you can leave. She didn't understand anything at all. Neither did James. They were so clueless. I sighed. Do you really think the rightful owner will just sit back after an illegal change of ownership? It might be different if Mom were older and had dementia, but she's still healthy and sharp. To carry out registration procedures without being the owner requires a power of attorney. James and Claire must have forged a fake power of attorney using the personal seal. If we get a handwriting expert, it'll be clear who wrote it. Besides, just Mom's testimony alone will prove it's a forgery, I said confidently. It must have been unexpected for them that their plot was discovered so quickly. James and Claire couldn't even rebut. In a court case, even you two should be able to figure out who would win and who would lose, I pointed out. A trial, you say? James asked timidly. This is a serious crime, you know. After discussing it with Mom, we've decided to press charges against you, I said. Charges? But, we're family. So what if we are family? For the past 10 years, my brother and his wife haven't done a single thing that resembles family. Besides, even within a family, there are things that can be forgiven and things that cannot. Mom said with tears in her eyes. When Emma told me, I couldn't believe it. To think that you two could concoct such a dreadful plot. We're no longer family. I'll have a lawyer ensure that James gets nothing after I'm gone. Attempting to dispose of Mom's property on their own is a valid reason for disinheritance. I absolutely won't let you use your dear father's inheritance. How could my brother make our mother say such things? I felt so ashamed. Mom, please. James clung to our mother. But his wife, Claire, stopped him. It can't be helped, dear. Claire. It was unexpected. I always thought she would be the one to make more of a fuss. It can't be helped now that we've been caught. I admit defeat this time. Claire said with frustration, but then she smirked. But remember this. Even if James is disinherited, our children still have the right to a representational inheritance. We'll claim our statutory share and get back whatever we can. And ultimately, Emma, when you're gone, the property will be ours. Since you have no children, the inheritors can only be James or our kids. We might lose now, but in the end, we'll be the ones rolling in the inheritance. Just you wait. Claire laughed triumphantly. But I replied calmly. Oh, don't you know? There's no statutory share for siblings. If I write a will transferring all the assets to some organization, not a penny will go to you. Donating the inheritance would be far more beneficial for the world and for people than giving it to you. Though, I do feel sorry for the children, so I might consider something for them. But as long as either of you is alive, it's unlikely. After that, Mom and I reported my brother and his wife to the police, which led to their arrest and imprisonment. Unfortunately, the turmoil seemed to have resulted in a sad outcome for the child Claire was carrying. The 3 remaining children were nearly sent to a facility, but after much deliberation, Mom and I ultimately decided to take all 3 of them in and raise them ourselves. Emma, are you sure about this? They are my grandchildren, and I don't want them to be unhappy, but it will be tough for you if you take them in. My mother advised me, however, I answered. Even though James and his family are like that, the children are innocent. Since I couldn't have my own children, I want to make these kids happy instead. At 40, it's unlikely that I'll have my own children. So, I thought, why not pour all that love into these 3 kids? Aunt Emma, the eldest child, hesitantly reached out to me. I firmly grasped her hand. It's okay. We're together now. Instead of my irresponsible brother and his wife, I resolved to raise these 3 children to the best of my ability. Holding the little hand, I made that promise in my heart. Building a home, it's a significant event in life. Just after reaching the pinnacle of happiness in doing so, my marital relationship crumbled. Let me share with you the story of this. I am Emily, 30 years old. My family consists of my 35-year-old husband, Kevin, and our 3-year-old daughter, Lily. We were finally going to build our dream house. When I talk about building a house, people often say, that sounds like everything's going smoothly, full of happiness, how nice. They usually add, normally, such a situation might be seen as ideal, but for me, it's far from that. Recently, my worries have been endless, mainly because of our house under construction and my in-laws. The beginning of the collapse was when we left our daughter with my in-laws. My husband and I both work, so we hardly have any time during weekdays. We primarily went house hunting and to design consultations on weekends. Since our daughter would get bored and fussy halfway through, we always left her with my parents, who live nearby. However, one morning, my father fell ill and had to go to the hospital, so they couldn't take care of her. I thought we should just cancel our plans for the day. But then my husband suggested, why don't we leave her at my parents' house? Honestly, I don't get along well with my in-laws. They believe they don't need to be reserved around their son's wife and can say anything they want. What era are they living in? Plus, I was reluctant to suddenly ask them to take care of a 3-year-old. But delaying today's plans would also push back the completion of our house. After some thought, I decided it was unavoidable and left our daughter with my in-laws for the day. After finishing our tasks, I immediately bought some fancy sweets as a gift and went straight to my in-laws' house. By evening, I arrived there, and perhaps because of the gift, my in-laws were in a good mood and welcomed us warmly. I thanked them politely, and on the way home, my daughter asked, "Where's the room for Granddad and Granny in the new house?" Lily, what are you talking about? Did Granddad and Granny ask you that? What did you answer? I said I don't know. Lily then moved on, chatting with her stuffed penguin. She calls my parents Grandpa and Grandma. So Granddad and Granny could only refer to my in-laws. Maybe they were just wondering if they have a room to stay in when they visit our house? At that time, I genuinely thought that was the case. Since then, my in-laws started visiting us more frequently. Especially during times like weekday evenings and holidays when my husband and I were home. We're currently living in a small, somewhat old rental apartment to save money for our house. Whenever they come over, they immediately settle in the dining area or on the sofa, demanding to see the documents about the house under construction. Before I can object, my husband eagerly brings out the documents and starts explaining everything to them. Why does he have to show them every time? I already feel uncomfortable with their frequent visits. And then, a barrage of questions starts coming from my mother-in-law. It's like a parliamentary questioning. But it's not my husband who has to stand in the line of fire, it's me. It's as if there's a chairman somewhere announcing, "Mother-in-law, your turn. About this blueprint, the kitchen's location seems impractical here. Please change it. There are too few carpeted rooms, add more." As everyone gets older, carpeted rooms become more comforting. Also, having only one children's room won't be enough if you have another child. What are your thoughts on the declining birth rate? Sorry, that last part was a lie. I haven't actually been grilled about family planning policies. Now it seems it's my turn to respond. Emily, your turn. Well, after discussing it as a couple and following the proper procedures with our contractor, the foundation work has already begun. The layout changes are already impossible, so please understand. I answered that a bit angrily. Then they asked in detail, what about the furniture? The appliances? My mother-in-law claims to be a home professional. My many friends have taken me to various houses, and I've carefully observed many rooms. With my discerning eye, I can immediately tell if a room is cozy and the furniture is stylish. This house, this room, is completely no good. It will let the good fortune escape and work won't go well. It's the worst. To say she's a pro, she's got some nerve. She's like a biting midge. My in-laws got really angry when I jokingly said, then, should we make it a duplex and split the costs? Just kidding. How dare you ask your parents to pay? You ungrateful child. A duplex? I hate such formal and lonely arrangements. That day, my in-laws left early. Good riddance. They're not parents to me, I have no obligation to be filial. More like a than parent. That night, after putting our daughter to bed, my husband spoke to me, clearly irritated. My parents are just trying to help with their advice, so don't be too cold to them. Cold? I didn't mean to be. But aren't your parents far more rude? They're always nitpicking our home. And they always try to dominate. Thinking less of me because I'm the daughter-in-law. They're just being parents. It's rude to dismiss their advice like that. You're an insensitive woman. Just cool off and reflect on this. After that, my husband turned his back on me and refused to speak any further. They might be your parents, sure. But we're a different household, aren't we? And we haven't received any financial support from your parents. Not contributing money but still having a say? If that's not rude, what is? My husband told me to cool down, but instead, I was so upset by the unreasonable situation that I had trouble falling asleep that night. Eventually, after many ups and downs, our house was finally completed. We were thrilled to move into our new home, but then, out of the blue. From today, my parents will also be living with us. The larger room on the second floor for Dad, and the smaller one for Mom should work, right? Wait a minute. What are you saying so suddenly? We had decided that one of the second floor rooms would be Lily's. I never agreed to live together. And your parents might not like the rooms, saying they're not to their taste. They won't say that. They've already seen the rooms, so don't worry. They've seen the rooms? When? I guess the day before we had our viewing. Wait, let me get this straight. Your parents saw this house the day before we did? Yeah, they wanted to see it, so I lent them the keys I had. It's just looking, after all. It doesn't do any harm. My husband, seemingly annoyed, said this and went back to his interrupted TV wiring. Doesn't do any harm? No, something just diminished. And quite dramatically. Not wanting to see my husband's face, I left the unpacking in the kitchen as it was and went upstairs. I locked the door to sort out my head, which was a mess of confusion and anger. I'm really glad I put Lily in daycare today because of the unpacking. It gives me a chance to be alone and think. This sudden declaration of living together has made me completely fed up with my husband and his parents. I don't want to spend another second with them. But we, as a couple, have just made a big purchase, a house. I need to stay calm and collected. I must carefully consider what should and shouldn't be said. For the sake of my daughters and my future. So, I stayed in the room, deeply contemplating, and waited for my in-laws to arrive. Just as my husband said, his parents arrived in the afternoon with a moving truck loaded with their belongings. Can't believe they didn't even come out to greet us, totally lacking common sense, they complained. Oh, look, it's still not even close to being tidy. How slow can you be? After a round of complaining, my in-laws entered our new house as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Listening intently from the second floor, I finally left my room and headed towards the entrance. I wasn't informed about living together with you. My first words were surprisingly cold, even to myself. My father-in-law, seemingly annoyed, quickly started to blame me. I told Kevin about it. That should be enough. No, it's a problem. I only heard about your intention to live together from Kevin this morning. Plus, I have no desire to live with such rude people. What? Kevin agreed to it. You, a daughter-in-law, think you can defy your husband? Yes, such a brazen daughter-in-law. If you don't like it, maybe you should leave, Emily. It's hopeless. I've always felt this way, but our ways of thinking are just too different to have a meaningful conversation. While I was silently pondering my next move, my husband rushed over in a panic. What are you doing, Emily? Don't fight with my parents. Fight? This is hardly a fair fight. I'm just being unilaterally berated for being a daughter-in-law. And now, I'm being scolded by my husband. I realize once again, they're all the same. Kevin, I can't live with your parents. What do you mean you can't? Don't make things difficult for me. As my wife, you should obey me. I am a person before I am your wife. Do you really think you can force me to obey? Hearing our conversation, my father-in-law shouted, "We don't need such a daughter-in-law." Then my husband agreed, maybe he's right. A wife who can't respect my parents might as well be divorced. That's what I was waiting for. Okay, let's get a divorce. I said it firmly. My husband, who initiated the divorce. And the wife who agreed. I hope my cell phone in my pocket recorded this conversation. I continued with a hopeful heart. Since we'll be strangers, please return the $350,000 I lent you for this house. What? My in-laws were shocked and blurted out in disbelief. My husband lost color, his face turning pale as he looked at me. I patiently explained to my oblivious in-laws. You seem to be under a misconception. Kevin didn't contribute a single dollar to this house. I built it with my savings because he had no savings due to his lack of planning. We both worked and agreed to contribute equally to our living expenses and save the rest in our own names. But he squandered his share instead of saving. Emily, you don't need to go that far. It's all true. And when we decided to buy a house, you insisted on having it in your name. That's why I lent you the money. There's a loan agreement, you can't deny it. Unbelievable. Leaving my husband and in-laws standing there dumbfounded, I quickly packed my valuables, clothes, my daughter's favorite toys, and her clothes into a suitcase and a duffel bag. Holding my daughter's beloved penguin plush under my arm, I loaded everything into my compact car and drove off promptly, saying goodbye to the newly built house that I had known for only a short while. Then, I went to pick up my daughter from daycare and headed to my parents' house. My parents, dressed casually, were quite surprised to see me suddenly show up with so much luggage. If it's too much of a hassle, I can go to a business hotel, I said hesitantly. But my parents quickly insisted I stay. I later found out that at the time, they were worried I might have been thinking of doing something drastic with my daughter. In reality, it was the opposite. I had made a vow to protect my daughter no matter what. For starters, I explained the whole situation to my parents. I shared my decision to divorce my husband, who lacked any redeeming qualities, and my determination to take custody of my daughter. My parents promised to fully support me in this. Then, they kindly suggested that I stay at my parents' home for a while. This was a very welcome offer for me, as I was working. That evening, I compiled everything that had happened between my husband and in-laws into a document. I also saved the audio recordings of my conversations with my husband and in-laws, which I had on my phone, onto my computer and external media. With these in hand, I used my paid leave and weekends to visit several law firms. Finally, I found a lawyer who seemed trustworthy and formally hired them. As I busied myself with these matters, a week flew by since the day I left our new home. When I left work that day, someone was waiting for me. It was my husband. I wish I could call him my ex-husband, but since the paperwork hadn't been filed yet, he was technically still my husband, unfortunately. I had nothing to discuss with my husband, but the thought of him lashing out in anger scared me. So, I sought a public place and we both entered a cafe in New York. Just to be safe, I made sure not to forget to turn on the recording feature on my phone. I tried to remain as calm as possible and asked my husband, "Do you have something you want to talk about?" "Yes, it's about the house. I'm going to transfer it to you. I'll change the ownership. So, can we call it even with the money? I'm sorry, but I just can't bring myself to live in that house anymore. Your parents entered it before us, didn't they? Does such a minor detail really matter? It's not minor to me, so it's impossible." Saying this, I took a sip of coffee and looked intently at my ex-husband. His hair was disheveled with strands sticking out here and there. He had grown a scruffy beard, and his complexion was far from good. He was wearing a suit, but his shirt was all wrinkled, obviously not ironed or cleaned. I wondered about the kind of life he was leading now, looking so worn out. "Please, Emily. I can't easily return such a large sum of money. You knew it was a large amount when you borrowed it, right? I suggested that we could have the house under both our names, or even just mine. But you were adamant about it being my house. In my name. That was your decision. I thought I was the head of the household. And about the divorce, I wasn't serious, it was just a threat. Why are you taking it so seriously?" "I am serious. I've had enough, and I'm definitely going for a divorce. It's not just your lack of responsibility. But I can't imagine living with such rude parents. That's... Lily is waiting for me, so if we're done here, I'm going to leave." "Wait. I'll take Lily with me." His words filled me with unease. After returning to my parents' house, I asked them to be cautious, to ensure Lily isn't forcibly taken away. A few days after my ex-husband's visit, I received a call that people resembling my in-laws were at the daycare. I left work early and rushed to the daycare. Fortunately, because I had informed the daycare in advance, they had my in-laws waiting in a separate room. They made sure not to let them see Lily. When I entered the room where my in-laws were, they immediately started yelling at me. "Give us back our grandchild, you conniving cat." "Conniving cat? What do you mean by that? I haven't committed any theft. If it's not theft, then it's fraud. You must have earned that money through dishonest means. Otherwise, there's no way someone your age could possess such a large sum. No, the money I lent to Kevin was all mine, earned fair and square. It's a combination of my own savings, contributions from my parents, and a part that I received as a living inheritance from my grandmother." "Wait, an inheritance?" "Yes, that's right. Each year, she transferred an amount that wouldn't incur gift taxes into an account under my name. The total amount, combined with the money I got from selling my stocks and the savings I had accumulated, is what I lent to Kevin." "Such a thing. To think that it was really your money. Didn't you give Kevin any pre-inheritance gifts?" "It's still possible to do so, you know?" "Ugh." My father-in-law groaned and fell silent. My in-laws are fond of luxury and showing off, with a particular liking for extravagant things. Being a typical salaried worker's family without any passive income, I knew their savings wouldn't be substantial. It was clear they had never even considered the idea of a pre-inheritance gift. "I'm sorry, but I am going to divorce Kevin. I will take care of Lily and raise her. Please, for everyone's sake, do not come to the daycare anymore." After saying this, I quickly put Lily in the car and returned to my parents' home. Despite my warnings, Kevin and his parents still showed up several times. Each time, I tried to speak calmly and send them away, but I often found myself grabbed by the arm or subjected to verbal abuse. I recorded all these interactions on my cell phone. About a month after I left the new house, I sent a document through my lawyer, demanding repayment of the debt and an agreement for divorce. My ex-husband mostly agreed, but he showed a willingness to fight for custody. But when I mentioned that I would claim alimony if he contested the divorce, he wilted like salted vegetables. He became significantly more subdued. After all, I had an abundance of evidence. And on the other side, they lacked the savings necessary to make payments. It took some time, but I managed to get the money I had lent to my ex-husband repaid, won custody of Lily, and successfully finalized our divorce. The repayment of the loan from my ex-husband took longer than I had anticipated. This was because the sale of the new house didn't go as smoothly as planned. Initially, I thought Kevin and his parents would live in the new house, but they didn't. The reason is simple. The cost of $350,000 for the purchase could not be paid by my in-laws or my husband. My husband never had savings to begin with, and even if we sold the old house his parents lived in, it wouldn't have been enough to cover the amount. In the end, we had to put up the newly built house for sale at a lower price than what we bought it for, and after several price reductions, we finally found a buyer. The difference in price from the purchase and the selling fees were borrowed from the bank by my husband. Having lost the house and burdened with debt, my husband ended up living in his shabby parental home with his parents. Moreover, Kevin's divorced sister returned there with her 2 sons. The sons are in middle school and high school. Due to 6 adults cramming into a small, dilapidated house, their constant quarreling has become the talk of the neighborhood. This family no longer has any involvement with us. Since they can hardly afford child support, I doubt they have the face to meet us. 4 years have passed since then, and my daughter Lily is now in the 2nd grade of elementary school. The 2 of us are currently renting a place near my parents' home. On days when I return home late, my parents look after Lily, and we are enjoying our days together with their help. I was thinking it might be nice to continue living just the 2 of us without getting married, but surprisingly, I'm now dating someone. He's a 36-year-old man with a history of divorce and a daughter in 1st grade. We often met while picking up and dropping off our kids at daycare, and that led to conversations, and eventually, he asked me out. Lately, the 4 of us, including our daughters, have been going out together. Recently, Lily casually said, if we build a house, it would be nice to have a room for each of us and to be able to have a dog. Those words made my heart skip a beat. In fact, I received a marriage proposal from this man not long ago. I'm still considering it because of our daughters, but my feelings are pretty much decided. I walked over to Lily, hugged her small back, and said, "That's right. Let's build a house again. This time, we'll discuss it as a family and make it a home where everyone can be happy."